everyone, and welcome to One Family, One Menu. Today, we are making what you asked for, my delicious Tres Leches. Today, we are making my most requested dessert, my delicious Tres Leches. But before we begin, don't forget to give this video a like and to subscribe to my channel. Before we begin making this delicious and easy dessert, let me tell you what you'll need. 1.5 cups of AP flour, 5 eggs divided into yolks and whites, 1 cup of granulated sugar or cane sugar, 2.25 cups of whole milk, 1 cup of heavy cream, 1 can of evaporated milk, 12 ounces, 1 can of condensed milk, 14 ounces, some maraschino cherries, and 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Tres Leches Cake is a very popular Hispanic dessert. It's a sponge and it absorbs milk, hence the name Tres Leches, which means 3 milks. Make sure you turn your oven on to 350 and preheat it. Then, what I did was make sure my pans, I'm using 2 today, but you can use 1 of 10 by 14, are buttered and floured. Then you stick them in the fridge to make sure they stay cold. In our Tres Leches today, I am going to make everything with a whisk. You can do it with a machine, a handheld, or a large one, but I want to show you that even if you don't have one, you can still make every single thing here with this. So now, the first thing we're going to do is put our baking powder into our already sifted flour. And then we're going to mix it together. Make sure that it's well mixed and incorporated. We're going to put this to the side and bring in a huge bowl. Here, we're going to start mixing our eggs, our egg yolks. 5 egg yolks. In they go. Perfect. Next, you're going to take 3/4 of the 1 cup of sugar that you measured and you're going to pour it into the eggs. Okay, so our egg yolk and sugar mixture is ready. It's much lighter in color, is double in size, and is nice and airy. Now, after this, we are going to add 1/4 cup of your already measured whole milk. Very nice. Now, once that is all incorporated, it's going to be a little bit more liquidy, obviously. We're going to start incorporating our flour. But let me show you a trick so your bowl doesn't fall over. You're going to take a towel, you're going to twist it like so, and you're going to put it underneath your bowl. That's going to help you whisk and pour, which is what I'm doing. Pour it slowly and whisk as you go. If your batter becomes too thick and you can't whisk it anymore, you can pour a tiny bit more of milk just to loosen it up a little bit. All right, so I am done whisking and putting together this part of the batter. I'm going to set it aside, and it is a little chunky, but don't worry. It's going to be okay. You're going to be folding in the egg whites, and we're going to whisk them first. I washed my whisk because I love this whisk, but you can use another one if you want to. Now, we're going to whisk these egg whites until we form soft peaks, and then we're going to fold it into the other part of the batter. Let's start. All right, everyone, so now we are done whisking our egg whites and they have formed beautiful soft peaks, which is what you want. Now, I want to remind you that when you're whisking with your hands and not with a machine, it's going to take a little longer, but be patient. It's going to happen. All right, if you don't have a machine, you can still make this delicious dessert. All right, so let's just fold this into our batter. And what this egg white is going to create are pockets of air, and it's going to make this delicious cake a sponge, which is what you want because Tres Leches is a sponge cake. When you're folding anything, you're going to move your bowl around like I am doing as you fold and tuck in whatever you have in the bowl, the dough or whatever. You're going to do 2 different movements with each hand. And that is going to ensure that the air pockets remain. So now that our mixture is properly folded, I'm going to pour it in carefully into my pan. Now, I'm using 2 pans today because I'm going to give some away. But like I said earlier, you can use a 10 by 14 pan, butter it, flour it, put it in the fridge until you're ready to bake. So I'm going to divide my batter. You don't want to put, I know it doesn't look like a lot, but when you put it in there, because it's going to be a sponge, it's going to rise a lot. All right, everyone, so our batter is ready. It's in each pan and it's ready to go into the oven for 20 minutes. And then you're going to check it. If it's still wet, you're going to leave it in for 5 minutes in 5 minutes increments. But it should be ready within 20 to 30 minutes. All right, so now that our cakes are in the oven, we are going to now mix our milks. Hence the name Tres Leches, 3 milks. We're using whole milk, evaporated milk, and sweetened condensed milk. We're going to mix them all together, and later when the batter is done and cooled down, we are going to pour it into the cake. You're going to take your whole milk. I don't know if you see, I have my whisk here that I washed. I'm going to pour it in carefully so it doesn't splash everywhere. Then you're going to take your evaporated milk can and also pour it in carefully and whisk it in as you go. And last, your sweetened condensed milk. This is a 14-ounce can. All right, so our milks, our 3 milks, are in this bowl, very well incorporated as you can see. And now I'm going to cover this and put it in the fridge until it's time to pour it on the cake. Now we're moving on to our whipped cream. Okay guys, so let's make whipped cream. Now I have my clean, make sure it's very clean, bowl. I have my very cold heavy cream. I'm going to pour it in to my bowl and we're going to make the delicious topper to our sponge. Now I'm going to whip this a little bit before I add my sugar. I often like to do that to give it a little bit of air first, and then I add my sugar. All right, so I have whisked my heavy cream, and now it's a little bigger. It has more bubbles incorporated, and now I'm going to pour my 1/4 cup of sugar into it. Okay, so I have whisked my heavy cream, and now it's turned into whipped cream. Soft peaks, and this is what you want to achieve. Make sure you don't go past this, because if you do, it's going to turn into butter and then you can't use it for the cake. You want to make sure that it's not liquidy and that you can pour it up and just look at it like this. You see that peak? That's perfection. All right, so our sponges are ready. I have cooked them for 20 minutes. This is what they look like. The pan's still a little warm. We need them to cool off completely before we decorate them and pour the milk in, because if you put whipped cream on something hot, it will obviously melt. But before it cools off completely, and this is going to help it cool it off a little bit too, is you're going to poke holes on it, because you cannot just pour the milk on it. It has to be absorbed by the sponge. And when you poke holes and then pour the milk, it's also going to help it grow even more. So you take a fork. This is a serving fork. It's fine. You can take skewers if you have them. It's perfect too. Or a regular fork. And you are going to poke holes on it like so. All right. So this is what your cake will look like, your sponge, once it has been poked all over. You're going to let it cool down. After that, even further, you're going to make sure that this cake is completely room temperature before you put in your milk and your whipped cream, because you don't want the milk to cook and the whipped cream to melt. And if you're vegan, you can make this cake. Just substitute the eggs with aquafaba, and you can use a different variety of milks like almond milk, oat milk, soy milk, any other milk you want. Okay, so our sponge is now cool. It's perfectly cooled down. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our milk mixture, which I took out of the fridge, so it's nice and cold, and we're going to give it a whirl like that. And with a ladle, you don't have to use one. You can use a big spoon if you have it, but ladle is a little better, I feel. We're going to ladle in slowly our milk on top of the sponges. And this is going to help the cake become more moist and delicious. Every bite you take needs to be milky. And some people like to add vanilla or even cinnamon extract to their milk. I don't. I like it to be milky because it is called Tres Leches. I want to taste the leche, the milk. All right, so our Tres Leches is now done. I've spread my whipped cream evenly on an even layer on both, and I've decorated them with maraschino cherries, which I've patted dry so they don't bleed into the whipped cream and the cake, and it's more pleasing to the eye. Also, this is meant to be kept in the fridge. It's eaten cold. Don't leave it out because it will spoil. And you will bake it in whatever bakeware you choose to bake it, and that is where it should stay. This is not a cake that you're going to move around to plate anywhere, etc. So just keep that in mind. I hope you've enjoyed making Tres Leches with me today. It's one of my favorite cakes, and it's a crowd pleaser. Go to onefamilyonemenu.com to find this full recipe and many, many more. Also, don't forget to give this video a like and to subscribe to my channel. I will see you again soon. And incorporated. It's all incorporated. Start incorporating, as you can see, and now it's incorporated.